Hey guys, so I actually intended on taking a break from making videos because I've been meditating and trying to get in touch with my body and doing some pretty deep work for me anyway lately, and it just seems like whenever I go in this, stuff starts to bubble up, particularly metaphors and symbols. So there's going to be a lot of metaphors in this video, and I apologize, but I am a metaphorical girl. So what can I say? So I've been doing a lot of yin yoga, and I have a lot of back pain, and this is helping with it. And it's also this intense kind of practice. And I've been watching a lot of Rupert Spira, and particularly his yoga meditations, and having some real glimpses into how you know that oneness is a thing, mind, body, spirit is connected, but having pointers such as the body is happening within, the sensations in the body are happening within consciousness. And we've always sort of had this belief that we are in the body. And while we've let go of that and considered that in so many different ways, that your brain isn't doing, that's a thought, that your brain is doing all of this, that consciousness is a much more profound thing than we can ever think of it, it's still, these feelings persist. And so one of the metaphors he uses is bathing in awareness. And as you bathe in awareness, a lot of tensions in the body start to bubble up, and they can also bubble up so that things and thoughts that need to be reconsidered, old beliefs, can bubble up, and things that have been holding us back can bubble up as well. And so I've been doing that a lot lately, and I have 3 different metaphors for explaining how this is done. And I like to go through all 3 because they each hit it from a different angle. And so if you kind of take the message from the 3 and put it together and realize that it's the same thing that's being said there, it helps the mind to have less to grab onto this way. So this is just simply the way that he spoke of it. And so this is the most general, clearest way before I get into my metaphors. But so the clearest way is to call it loving indifference. So when you're sitting with a sensation, and that's a lot of what I've been doing lately, is so in meditation, we really hit this head on. And we watch sensations arise, and we watch these discomforts arise, whether it's something as simple that we label back pain or any sort of emotional discomfort, not wanting to sit, not wanting to stay. And so I've been doing this a lot lately throughout the day, and realizing that even an impulse to want to snack or an impulse to go on the internet or anything, that there's this fear there. And for me in particular, I'm not sure how many people share this, but you may have something. There's this fear of missing out that is so deeply intertwined in everything. And this time of year, it particularly hits me because I want to be outside all day long, but I also have goals and things that require me to be inside to manage them. And so there's this constant, if it's a nice day, there's this constant fire in me that's I want to be somewhere else. And then if I do that and I spend the entire day outside and I let myself have that, then there's all the things I'm doing. And so there's this sense of doership and a sense of I shouldn't be where I am, and not just that this is awareness unfolding in this moment. And so bringing it back to that and letting that feeling arise, that all those thoughts I had of just shuffling back and forth and feeling bad and feeling uncomfortable and using thoughts and faulting myself for not scheduling my day better, to just sit with those sensations and bathe in that awareness. And so you want to have this with the sensation itself. He spoke of this, that you have to have loving indifference for it. And it's not that we have to be willing to live with it forever, but we also have to have this sort of love and curiosity. And the indifference part is the willingness to not judge it. And love itself is the ultimate no judgment. And so we want to have loving indifference for our darkest feelings. And another metaphor I heard for this is to think of those sensations. And once you drop the story about them that I should be doing somewhere else, or I want to eat, or whatever, you just go into that, or coming below it and calling it loneliness, or calling it fear of missing out, or whatever, dropping all of those stories, all of those layers of stories, all of the specifics. Another metaphor was to think of it like a teddy bear, and to explore and kind of like snuggle the sensation, to want to bring it closer, like a little child with a teddy bear, to think of it as a teddy bear. And that helps you to reframe it as something that you're not trying to push away, that you're not trying to just see through as an illusion, because the mind is just so sneaky how it comes up. And so sometimes to use these ridiculous metaphors can be really powerful, and your mind is envisioning this teddy bear, and then you can get that feeling, that loving indifference feeling, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is in your experience, to come up. And I also had this event during meditation. So a couple days meditation has gotten really easy for me. And I've started upping how long I meditate, but a couple days it got really difficult, but I was seeing through things quite quickly. And this is at the same time that I started to really feel like I was losing a sense of the path, losing a sense of self, and then kind of like I got there too quick, this depression and nihilism kind of set in. And as I've done a lot of shadow work has bubbled up for me. But there was this one image, a random image of this girl from high school that bubbled up while I was meditating, and it just seemed like the most random thing to me. And I wanted to just push it aside like a cloud I wasn't going to pay attention to, but I was like, what? Why? And sometimes that curiosity serves you. Sometimes you do not want to dogmatically push away the clouds. And I was like, oh, she's somebody that, like, it wasn't a big enough deal for me to think of that as a embarrassing or traumatic, or someone who I'd really tried to separate myself against and had these feelings of annoyance and not wanting, because we had this quick little disagreement and got feelings hurt, where I said something that accidentally offended her, and I meant it to be I actually meant it to be like a reflection and a contemplation, actually, and she took it as a insult to her, and then kind of came back at me. But anyway, none of that matters. But thinking through of it, like, I'd never thought of her, never thought of that instance as something other than to just push out of my memory to feel better about. And so it came up. And so my last analogy for this sort of thing, this sitting with the feelings and meditation, is it's like a bat in the closet. And you don't want a bat in your closet, and you don't know that there's a bat in your closet pooping on all your clothes until you meditate. And then you open the doors, and there it is, loose in the house. And it's like, oh my God, that, like, this in this moment that it's loose in the house, it's a good thing. The bat is no longer living in your closet, but now it's loose in your house, and now you're afraid of it. And so it takes a little bit of doing to take the proper steps, whatever those are. I've never had a bat in my house, thank God, to get the bat out of the house. And sometimes that's how it is sometimes something actually pops up. So when I get deep into meditation, I expect that all the symbolism and metaphors and kind of feeling like I am on the scavenger hunt, like I've talked about in the past, I feel like that is let go of, and I feel like I've really gone to the roots, and all of that was silliness and stuff. And then it pops up again, and I realize that one is leading me to the other, but I tend to get lost in the other. And it's holding this kind of balance that doesn't exist. There's no actual balance. In all my life, I've searched so hard for balance and turned balance into a dogma, not knowing that balance does not exist. I've turned not being dogmatic into a dogma. And these things are only resolved beyond thinking. So as you open up, as you bathe in that awareness, not only do the bats fly out of the closet, but new connections and these amazing sort of gifts and just beautiful, beautiful ways the universe unfolds come out. And you start to have these kind of connections pour in. And at the start, it's like we want to grab onto those. We want to hold those because the mind has let go of its belief, and then it's like this shiny thing, and we want to grab onto it so bad. And you grab onto it, and then either your inner or outer, because there is no inner or outer, guru comes in and is like, no, that's a grenade, and takes it and throws it away. And you're like, what? That was a shiny treasure. And eventually you stop being like a dog and chasing it like a ball, and you just look at it and you realize that you're better off without it. And then the flip side is that a lot of the things we don't want to accept, like those feelings, being a teddy bear, sometimes the things we think are grenades and are terrified of, sometimes the snake on the path is a stick, and sometimes the grenade we see is just a diamond wrapped up in grenade wrapping paper. See what I mean about the metaphors? I'm sorry. So they're getting even worse. Brace yourself. So I had another metaphor that it's like the first time I got in a bumper car. So I stood in line a really long time as a kid, and I thought, I'm like watching everyone else, and I'm like, I'm gonna crush it. Look at them struggling to drive. Look at them. I'm just gonna crush it. I'm gonna be awesome. And then I get in the car and I realize that I don't know how to drive. And so I hit the gas and I go flying into the wall. And then I realize that I need to steer. And so then I'm steering and not going anywhere. And I realize that I have to hit the gas again. Repeat. And you spend the entire time you have basically like bumping against the wall. And that's what it feels like at first when you start on the path to try to get this balance, to get the meditative flow, and also to have the intentions for your life and to see these things come up and go for them. You have to have both the fire behind it and the direction. And it's like we're a frog in a pot and we want to boil the frog. But if you make the water too hot too fast, if you don't give yourself enough break, and you go so deep into meditation, you can get into nihilism, and you can get into sort of turning that into a dogma and losing the fun, the plans you have for your life, the amazing parts of life, losing the gift of life in that. And that's what the power of making intentions. And like when I made the intention to make the video after not wanting to make one, I felt so much better. It gave me a sense of direction, and it gave me a reason to kind of compile everything and have fun with it and reframe it in my own mind. And really, I'm teaching so I can teach myself, because teaching is a really good gig in order for you to get the mastery that you otherwise wouldn't have had. And so many times we watch content, we read content, and we don't realize that we need to express it back out to truly learn it. And that's why journaling and writing is so important. And at a certain point, yes, you only learn. You learn, you read, and that's great. But at some point, you need to put it back out in the other direction, because it's then that those inherent beliefs that make you feel so silly when they're uncovered come out. And to do this deep work takes letting go of the self, which is only done in self-love, capital S, self-love, in meditation. Meditation done right is self-love. And it takes that in order for us to see the bats in the closet, because otherwise we'll be willing to own them. To have that courage to see them requires this. So it felt to me like I had lost the sense of a path completely, because there was no self, and there's so much talk here. I even make videos. I talk so much. Like I just told you that you should talk, you should write, you should put it back out there. And so sometimes we accidentally strengthen the sense of ourself on a path. And then you realize that there's a self and there's doership in that. And yet to your greatest intention, your greatest desire is yourself being on that path. So how do you reconcile that in yourself? And when you you start to fall into the nihilism, it feels like the self has lost a path. And if the mind will turn that in, I need to lose myself and I need to lose my path, and then it feels like it's the self that's off the path. And meditation, keep going back and forth. And I was out on a run this morning. I was feeling that way last night. I was gonna write about it. I was gonna journal about it. And I was like, no, I just need to drop it and meditate. And it was a really busy night for my family and everything, but I did it as much as I could, and then bam, my energy came back and I just felt like things were right again. And this morning I made a lot of intentions for the day, and this morning I made an intention to go for a really long run, and it was absolutely amazing. And the most beautiful part of it, there was this truck on the side of the road and I had to run around it. And then on the way back, I saw that there was a bumper sticker on it with the Tolkien, "Not all who wander are lost." And putting that together with the metaphor that came kind of out of my nihilist period there, that I had lost the path, not all who wander are lost, just seemed like beautiful timing for that to come up. So I looked up the entire quote by J.R.R. Tolkien, and it's, "All that is gold does not glitter. Not all who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost." And as I read that, it linked in the symbolism of the dream that I had last night. And so as you meditate, these things come up, these symbols come up, chase them, meditate some more, don't get stuck on it. Basically same message as my last video. A solo retreat may be quite continental, but symbols are a girl's best friend. Like I said, I'm reading Women Who Run with Wolves. Symbols may not be your thing, but you can tell by feeling when things come up, and symbols are powerful into the psyche. So I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you weren't annoyed by my metaphors, and talk to you soon. Bye.